Good morning from Houston, Texas. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. It is just about 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and the latest advisory has come out on Tropical Storm Harvey. Still a tropical storm, but that's going to change very soon. This is a beautiful satellite picture from NASA, and it shows Harvey in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm using it as my title card today, so to speak, just to kind of set the stage for what's coming. So let's take a look at the very latest here. Again, 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Winds are 65 miles per hour, and the pressure is down to 982 millibars. Now, why are the winds still so low, considering that pressure is also fairly low? Sometimes it takes time for the wind to catch up with the drop in pressure, and that is going to happen. And if we look at the headline here, this is exactly what I was talking about before I left North Carolina on Tuesday to come here to Texas, that Harvey could quickly strengthen as it approaches the coast and leave very little time for preparation. And now it is forecast to become a major hurricane, and it could make landfall as such, ending the United States major hurricane drought, and that means it would be a Category 3 or higher. Looking at the public advisory from start to finish here, again, 65 miles per hour, 982 on the pressure, and it's moving north-northwest at about 10 miles per hour. And they say that it is quickly strengthening and forecast to be a major hurricane. Storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to San Luis Pass. Storm surge watch south of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande, and north of San Luis Pass to High Island. Hurricane warnings from Port Mansfield to Matagorda. Tropical storm warning north of Matagorda to High Island, and south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. And tropical storm and hurricane watches in effect north and south of those points. So the really big impact that we're going to be looking at here, I'm just going to move down to the hazards affecting land, because this is what it's all about now. We're going to be watching the evolution of this system as it strengthens, and we're going to be looking at the rainfall, the storm surge, the wind, etc. So this is where it really starts to matter. So let's look at each of these. The rainfall impact: Harvey is expected to produce total rain accumulations of 12 to 20 inches and isolated maximum amounts of 30 inches over the middle and upper Texas coast through next Wednesday. All right, so during the same time, it's expected to produce total rain accumulations of up to a foot in far south Texas and the Texas Hill Country to central Louisiana. This right here, all by itself, is going to be a major disaster. Now we come in and we look at the storm surge. We are talking about the area above ground level now. Storm surge plus the tide, and there's not much of a tide range along the Texas coast, but enough, will cause normally dry areas near the coast, right here. See, normally dry areas to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline. And so that is above ground level. We're talking 6 to 10 feet now, all right, from Sargent to, let me start over, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, from north entrance of Padre Island National Seashore to Sargent. And we'll look at what these areas, where they are in just a moment. Sargent to San Luis Pass, 5 to 7 feet. And the amounts get lower from there, for the most part. Port Mansfield to the north entrance of Padre Island National Seashore, also 5 to 7 feet. And as far north as High Island, 2 to 4 feet. And then over to Morgan City in Louisiana, 1 to 3 feet. So this is going to affect a lot of people. All right, so this is really, really serious and needs to be taken seriously, okay? So let's move down and continue to look at the different hazards here. If I can get this to cooperate with me. Come on. All right, so wind, hurricane conditions are likely within the hurricane warning area late Friday or Friday night, with tropical storm conditions expected to first reach the coast in the hurricane warning area Friday. And of course, it's going to have some pretty dangerous swells on top of that. So let's scroll up and go to the discussion. Hopefully that is out, and it is. Data from an Air Force recon plane indicate that Harvey is quickly strengthening and the cyclone structure has improved markedly, with the plane reporting a 15 to 20 mile wide eye. Pressure down to 982. It is likely that the winds will respond and increase further, and Harvey probably isn't too far from becoming a hurricane. With Harvey now strengthening at a faster rate than indicated in previous advisories, the intensity forecast has become quite concerning. Water vapor images indicate that the cyclone's outflow is expanding, indicative of low shear, and Harvey will be moving over a warm eddy of high oceanic heat content in the western Gulf of Mexico in about 24 hours. As a result of these conditions, several intensity models, including the intensity consensus, are now explicit, showing Harvey reaching major hurricane intensity. What's astounding is that some of the ship's rapid intensification indices are incredibly high. As an example, the guidance is indicating a 70% chance of Harvey's winds increasing by 45 knots over the next 36 hours. This is where you need to be worried. This is where people need to be screaming at the top of their lungs to get the heck off the coast, evacuate if you're told to do so, and prepare. We do not mess around with this kind of stuff right here when you read that kind of a paragraph. The possibility that this becomes a very intense hurricane is there. And when you see them talking about the warm eddies of high ocean heat content, you know, that's science right there. That's not messing around. That's not hype and trying to get people to click on your page or whatever. That is life-threatening potential devastation. Okay, so this is extremely important that you realize that. All right, aircraft fixes indicate that Harvey has turned toward the north-northwest around 10, 11 miles per hour. A mid-level high centered near Florida in the eastern Gulf of Mexico should force Harvey towards the northwest later today. With that trajectory continuing for the next couple of days, by 48 hours, the cyclone appears to get sandwiched between the same mid-level high over the Gulf and a larger high over the Intermountain West, which will cause Harvey to slow down considerably. And it'll potentially stall just inland through days 3 and 5. Ugh. It is critical that users not focus on the exact forecast track of Harvey, since cycle-to-cycle adjustments are likely. All locations within the hurricane and storm surge warning areas should be preparing for the possibility of major hurricane-force winds and life-threatening storm surge. Key messages, basically it's intensified quickly, things are going to go downhill, storm surge warning, life-threatening freshwater flooding. This is developing into a very, very bad situation. All right, so let's take a look at the latest satellite picture right here. I'm going to refresh this. And this is a black and white, as I call it, infrared. So the brighter the whites, the colder the cloud tops. And you can see it definitely has that banding starting in there with the eye located right in here. The outflow on this system is incredible, and it's just going to get worse from here in terms of the intensity. And you folks up here along the Texas and Louisiana coasts, storm surge is going to be coming for you. Very heavy rainfall in areas all the way back over here. I can't drive home the point enough that it is time to get your butts moving and get ready. When you're told by your local officials, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, I'm going to give you some clues as to what to look for. When they tell you what to do, you need to follow it and not question it. Looking at the vorticity signature, much more intense, a little bit oval shape still right down here, just kind of pointing some things out. And eventually I'm just going to be showing satellite images and radar. We're going to get away from the structure because once it has an eye, it'll be very obvious. But right now the structure looks impressive, and I don't mean that in a good way, believe me. Now, they talked about the upper level winds. Wait until you see this. It's all green now, all across the western Gulf, with anticyclonic flow evenly distributed clockwise above the hurricane, fanning out that energy and not blowing it across in one direction or another. and that's going to lead to this really becoming strong. The upper ocean heat content is also very high for the most part, and the warm eddy that they're talking about, I guess, is in here somewhere. It doesn't show up on the upper ocean heat content map, but it's there. I don't think that's it, but the bottom line is the Gulf of Mexico is primed, it's undisturbed, the heat content is there for this to be an intense hurricane. So just to give you an idea about our plans. All right, I am in Houston, Texas right now. I am going to be heading down here to Alice, Texas later today. And that's where the hotel is. And I will be working with several people, both in person and behind the scenes, to deploy equipment from the Galveston area all the way down to as far south as we can do it and still manage to get some sleep tonight. Or some tonight and then set up tomorrow. I mean, we have a lot of coast to cover and a lot of stuff to do. We have a total of 5 unmanned cameras that we can set up. You may have remembered these if you've seen them before. Hermine last year, Matthew last year, testing in 2015, in flooding and winter storms. These are the little tiny boxes, a little bit bigger than a lunchbox, that'll run for 30 hours and provide video and audio from wherever we put them. Power outages notwithstanding, some, infrastructure failure, those are all things that could happen and knock them offline. But I think we can at least survive until landfall with some of these and provide you with footage, live video from the coast, unlike anything you've ever seen before. So if we zoom in here, I want to talk about some of the areas that we may be interested in. And if you know of people that have property right on the waterfront, get in touch with me via email. Okay, my email is Hurmark, Hurrmark, like Hurricane Mark, Hurrmark @gmail.com. Hurmark@gmail.com. Anybody, here's Sergeant up here. We're talking up to 10 feet of water above ground level. All right, this is not something to mess with. So we want to set these cameras out and provide live video from ground zero of these locations, and we won't be there. So if you know of people that have property right on the beach, get in touch with me, and we can look it up on Google, and it might be a good spot to put the camera, and we know, assuming the property is still there the next day, that we can still retrieve the camera later, etc. And we even have some plans if this happens at night. So different areas, you think about Palacios up here, I think that's how you say it. The water is going to come in here across some of these barrier islands. It will overwash. These bays that are all through here are going to fill up. Galveston Bay, I'm worried about Galveston Bay up here. Whoops, the little arrow got me again. And what that could do, let's see, make sure I can scroll. As the winds maybe back around, the heavy rainfall, any potential wind impacts there, whether it be the barrier island side of the bay from the ocean, the fetch coming on shore with storm surge, or the water draining out of Houston into Galveston Bay, and then the potential for winds coming around at some point and funneling that water, that extra water, on the backside of Galveston Bay. There's a lot to keep up with here. And I want to show you one thing here before I sign off. This is lengthy, but it's important. You want to know, not right now, thank you. You want to know what to expect, all right? Then you need to go to weather.gov, weather.gov. There it is. Put in your zip code right here, all right? And when you do that, you will go to a landing page, and I'm just going to click on this and show you. And for example, if you're interested in somewhere down along the Texas coast, of which, obviously in this case you would be, your zip code put in, I don't have the zip codes down here memorized, so forgive me, but you would click on the zip code part, and then this is where you'll land. Your weather forecast office is Houston, but this is what I want you to look for right here. Look for that. Put in your zip code, and when you get to this page, that's what you'll see. Hazardous weather outlook, read it. Hurricane local statement, read it. Tropical storm warning, read it. Okay, the storm surge warning, read these text products, because I'm going to just show you real quick. They give you the clues that you are looking for about what to expect. Man, that arrow, very aggravating sometimes. These give you the clues that really can help you to prepare for what Harvey will bring. And as I scroll down, it's got all the products, the headlines, the new information, current watches and warnings. I mean, this is lengthy. You need to read this. Sit down and read it because it's for your local area. All right? And it's going to be specific to your area, not just a broader perspective like you're going to see on national news coverage or even your local news coverage. This is going to be written specifically for your area. So once again, just to drive the point home, you need to go to weather.gov, put your zip code in right up here in the upper left-hand corner, and the landing page is going to have extremely helpful information that you've paid for. Tax dollars. It's yours. Use it. All right? I'm going to be streaming live on YouTube for the duration of this. In a couple of hours, I'll start things up. And I will do another update tonight when I get to Alice in Texas. And we start preparing to intercept what could be a major hurricane. We did bring our weather balloon payload. We call it Harvey for Hurricane Research Balloon. And there is an opportunity that we could launch as this comes up and makes landfall here somewhere along the Texas coast. I'm going to talk about that more this evening. Since this is going to likely happen at night, we have a lot of things to consider. We wouldn't see what we want to see with our GoPro cameras on this payload, but it does have weather data, and that transmits over amateur radio frequency, and it would give us a ground to stratosphere sampling of this hurricane, which will be a hurricane. We'll talk about it more tonight, though, because I've got to look into some things and make sure that we can handle this. This is hard, all right? Anyway, I'm done for now. I appreciate you tuning in. Try to keep your cool. Remember to breathe. Remember to eat and drink. And good luck to you. You're going to need it. I'm telling you. I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks for watching. I'll have another update for you tonight.